Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Movie Mates video. I am Matthew, joined by my wonderful co-host and best friend.
Callum,
Hey man, lovely to see you. So in today's
good to see you.
episode, we have another mini review. I'm not sure if this is classified as an overdue review because it has come out quite recently. To be fair,
Yeah, I think
so
it came out on like the 19th or something like it. It hasn't been out for
yeah,
long.
yeah. So this is quite a fairly recent release. So I'm going to pass over to Callum to explain what this movie is and the breakdown of spoiler, non-spoiler, and stuff. So off to you, bud.
I think it was the 15th, but that's only a week
Ah,
ago.
it's only a week
We're
ago.
we're
We'll be
we're
grand.
pretty early
We'll
on
be
the scene
grand.
compared to the
Exactly.
people who are definitely avoiding watching this film.
Yeah,
So
and understandably.
this film is a fantasy future dystopian world where the COVID pandemic has gone on an additional 4 years. Uh, an additional 2 years from now. It's set in 2023, and it's a love story between KJ Appa's Nico and whatever the actress's name is, playing Sarah.
I think it's
I
Sophia
didn't care.
Carson.
I
I
didn't
think it's
care to
something
learn.
like
I
that.
think so, yeah. But I didn't care enough to learn.
I respect
So
that.
this is a terrible concept for a film uh, that I quite enjoyed. I'll be honest.
Yeah, no,
We'll
I
talk about the
agree.
context and why I think it is absolutely dodgy and this film should not have been made. But when we actually get into it, I will admit I was engaged.
Yeah.
I was not like, ugh, why do I have to watch this?
Hmm.
I was enjoying myself enough.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree with you, buddy. So yeah, just before we kick off today's review, of this will be split into spoiler and non-spoiler. So time codes and stuff will be in the description as always. And yeah, please be sure to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts on Songbird down below. We'd love to hear them. We're always there to read your comments. So, in terms of non-spoiler, buddy, I suppose would now be a good time to sort of address the context of this and why potentially it shouldn't have been made. Do you wanna address that now?
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I felt very lucky going into this film because it's 84 minutes long, which I think is the shortest film, the shortest live action film that wasn't a kids film that I've ever seen.
I yeah,
I
me
genuinely
too.
didn't think
Me too.
I genuinely didn't think that you could classify yourself as a feature film at this length, and
Hmm.
maybe that's why I went to streaming. I don't know because
Hmm.
I don't know that doesn't really seem, and it does not come across as a film. It's an extended music video or something adjacent to that. With the
Yeah.
editing of like Suicide Squad, like it feels like
Yeah.
someone because of course Suicide Squad's editing was rinsed absolutely, and that's because they brought in a trailer editing house to edit the entire film. So that's why it comes across as a an extended trailer, and I feel like that is sort of present here. But this film is of course set during the pandemic that we are currently living in, and
Yeah.
there are obviously movies about tragedies made during the tragedies. There were films about the war while the war was happening, but that was for the sake of camaraderie and to unite the people under this tragedy. And I really don't think anyone is uniting under the hope of Songbird starring KJ Appa.
I agree. No, I absolutely agree. Especially when the movie begins. It's you know, it's sort of I likened it. When you turn this movie off, you're like, fuck me, this is life. Do you know what I mean? Maybe not to the
Yeah.
degree as in this film. This film is a lot more horrific than today. I say a lot more. It's not much more, to be honest. There's
Well, I mean, less
obviously.
people are dying because they're more restrictive.
Yeah, I think here, like it's so terrifying, especially as I said, when you turn this movie off, you finish it and you realize it's like, fuck, this is not, a zombie land or something where there's zombies outside the window. This
Yeah.
is life. People are in lockdown and stuff, and people are losing their loved ones. It's too soon. It is way,
Yeah.
way too soon for this, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I think a year after would be too soon, let alone during.
Oh, I
Like I
agree.
think
I absolutely agree.
I think admittedly it's an interesting look at how sort of everyday technology would need to advance in response to a virus. But why would they need to base this film on coronavirus? And how did they think it was a good idea? Like it seems like fear mongering. And
It
I
does.
guess they were trying to be timely, but I feel like most people watch films for escapism. So I feel like anything, if anything, basing this on such a horrific time that we're currently living in will just turn people off immediately from watching it. I
Yeah.
feel like 10 years down the line, it could have been, 10 years down the line and, not this sort of, hypothetical world. more of a realistic romantic approach taken a few years down the line, I feel like people could maybe appreciate it. But
Agreed.
like a horrific potential future
I
based
know.
on a disease that is currently, you know,
Yeah.
taking over the world. Like it's just it's kind of despicable.
It is. No, it is. And I think the fact that, buddy, that the main sort of focal point of the movie is the new like mutations of the virus. And the fact that, in the news in the last couple of weeks, there have been talks of, the mutating virus and stuff, the new variants of it, it really doesn't help matters at all. And, you sort of brought up the subject of fear mongering there. I think an argument could be made, this film, we talked about, propaganda for the war films and stuff like that and camaraderie. I think maybe here, a lot of people who watch this might think, flip, I'm not going outside again. This is just my life. I'm watching this, and this film's almost saying like, if you go outside, you're dead, kind of thing. And I think that's it really doesn't help matters when, like we said, when you finish this movie and you realize this is life. Maybe not to the degree as in this film. This film's got quarantine camps and stuff. We'll go on more to them in spoilers, but
Yeah,
here, I think, I don't know. I think it's there's a place and a time. Sorry, there's a time and a place,
yeah.
and I think maybe 10 years could have been delayed here. I think maybe minimum.
Yeah, because I mean, there are
Yeah,
sort of two different, concepts of approach taken to, your attitude towards the virus, which is either give up hope or, completely ignore the rules that are set by the government.
yeah,
So it's kind of sort of that like, very wide dichotomy that kind of makes this, hard to understand what the film is trying to say.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Like, I think at one instance, buddy, in the way it sort of presents, KJ Appa's Nico is like, obviously he's a character who himself is immune to the virus, um, which is again we'll address more of that in spoilers. But I think the fact that, like you said, an argument could be made for this film is, it presents the horror in the outside world. A lot of people will just not want to risk it, and they will just stay indoors for the rest of their lives, or if they're near future anyway. But then an argument could also be made that it's like it's empowering you to like not live your life by the restrictions that are imposed upon you. So I'm really confused as to what the message is here. Do you know what I mean? Like, because it well, I mean, it definitely presents a government institution that's corrupt, so as the bad guy, so to speak. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the message is, buddy. I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah, we're not putting it aside either way, but we're just saying how the film presents these themes
Yes.
is
No, absolutely.
confusing,
Yeah.
and I think everything regarding this production is just baffling.
Hmm.
And what one way in which I would mention that is the filming of this film is bizarre. Like the way in which it's filmed, like it's not. I was very confused because I was like, do I criticize this? Is it bad? I feel like it's just inappropriate for the kind of film it is. You
Yeah.
know, of course, it makes sense that there's sort of face timing intercut because it's the part of the narrative. But then there are other scenes where it doesn't make sense contextually, where they're just normal scenes between two characters who are together, but it's filmed like found footage, like
Yeah.
with
Yes, it is.
extreme
It's not.
close-ups, or as though the camera's like on the floor looking up at them.
Yeah,
Like
I agree.
it's
It's
bizarre.
so unusual. I had the exact same point in my notes, buddy. I just sort of said, I think the editing is really choppy as well, accompanied with the filming style. The one thing I noticed, like the camera never really sits still. It's always moving. Be it like a close
Mhm.
up on Nico's face, or like it's almost as it's filmed like how I would imagine like parkour would be filmed. It's always like the camera's always tilted along with you. It's up or down. It's from a different angle. It's here or there. There's needless cuts everywhere. I mean, there's must be at least 20 cuts. Nico trying to, like leaving his home from his bike. Do you know what I mean? It's unusual. Like, not to say that I don't know if it is bad. I think it's maybe unique is the word, but I'm not sure. It takes a really long time to get used to that style, buddy. It's
Yeah,
it's remarkable. I don't think I've ever seen a film that has a style like this. It's like a
I was
trailer
gonna
almost,
say,
like you said.
there's one other film that it reminds me of, and that's Spring Breakers, which was sort of critically it was sort of critically mixed, but I just couldn't get past a certain point because the filming
Mhm.
did just really off put me. And
Yes.
here, there are some concepts where you're like, wow, that is really unique, really original. No one's ever done that, and sometimes there's a reason for that.
Yes. Yeah.
In
Yeah.
when there's like
Yeah.
90 years of filmmaking history, or 100 years of filmmaking history, and like no one's ever done that. There's
There's probably
probably
a
a reason.
reason.
Like I
Yeah.
feel like the industry has existed too long for there to be a true innovation without it, just being a bad idea.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. If in the typical cinematic format, it's like old saying, buddy, isn't it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I kind of feel like, this film was produced by Michael Bay, so you know,
Oh,
I'm obviously not saying that that's his fault, but he's been one to be known for choppy editing in his films. The Transformers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles spring to mind there when I think of Michael Bay. So but yeah, I don't know truthfully how much of an influence he had, quite honestly, but I'd
I
imagine it would
feel
be
like
quite a lot.
he seems to be a big character on set. Like
Yeah, he
they say
does,
that,
doesn't he? Yeah,
with Michael Bay brings Bayos.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I feel
Literally.
like,
Yeah, man.
I feel like he probably takes over any set that he's on. The
Yeah,
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle films that he's a producer on, they may as well be directed by him. They are Michael Bay films.
they are. No, they absolutely are.
Whenever I heard that he was only a producer, I was genuinely shocked. I really enjoy those films for what they are. They're
I
dumb
agree,
fun.
actually. Yeah.
Because I feel like Michael Bay is in he's in the business of making dumb fun films. I mean, sometimes too dumb to even enjoy. Let's be honest. Like Transformers: The Last Night
It's
was
that's
just,
one of the worst I've ever seen.
it was a step too far for me.
Yeah,
Uh,
agreed.
but we've mentioned KJ Apa, and I think he has a real star quality, and his performance is really charming.
I agree. He actually, I think this is the best performance of his I've seen. And we've talked about Michael Bay. He kind of reminds me of like it's a very typical actor for to be in a Michael Bay production. I think it kind of reminds me of
Yeah,
like Shia LaBeouf in the Transformers movies. It's that kind of role. It's like a
yeah,
young,
it's dark
a,
hair and tan.
yes,
He's
no, it is.
golden,
It
and
absolutely.
he's always sweating.
Yes, no, it absolutely is, dude, for sure. And I actually think KJ is really good here. And the romance between him and Sarah, I actually really thought was really sweet. Especially, um, we'll get into spoilers, but especially for the limited time that they're together in the film, I thought it was really great.
Hmm. And this film is only 84 minutes. But the midpoint for me felt like it was revving up to the finish. Like, you're very confused watching this. What is the third act? What is the finale? Because in the end, I think the film is anticlimactic, but admittedly very engaging.
I
I
agree.
think
Yeah,
no no film of this objective low quality has engaged me quite like this in some time. I'll
I
watch
quite agree.
I'll watch admittedly better films, better quality and better enjoyment, but my eyes aren't on the screen for as long as they were for this.
Yes, no, absolutely, dude, absolutely. And I think the fact that it sort of feels like a TV show episode in a weird way as well. It kind of
Yeah,
reminds me of like a Black Mirror-esque, project.
or
I don't
like
know.
a what if
A
Riverdale
what?
episode.
Yes, no, yeah, yeah. I know, imagine. But yeah, like KJ Apa, I think is really good, and Alexander Daddario is actually very good as well.
Oh yeah,
I think
she's
she's great.
fantastic and everything.
No, she is. She's so good. And yeah, like I don't have much more to say in terms of non-spoilers here, but I think it's sort of a weird dichotomy of, I really was engaged by the film. I'm not sure if I enjoyed it because it feels so real and it is so real. I mean, enjoyment's probably not the right word for my experience with this film. I think maybe I was captivated by it. I think
Yeah,
quality wise though, it misses the mark for, an Amazon exclusive project. You know what I mean?
yeah. So Matthew, I feel like the only real question that needs to be asked is massive hit or piece of shit.
I don't know, man, because I feel like a real bitterness and saltiness
It's
towards this
confusing.
film. It's so
Yeah,
confusing. Like I want to give it a piece of shit just because I think this is sort of a, you know, borderline immoral act to release this film.
yeah.
But I think I'll go for a massive hit. I don't want to be too harsh on it because, of course, I'd imagine a lot of people worked hard for this, and I actually quite like KJ Apa as well. So I'll give it a massive hit. But it's the context of the film really more tars it for me. But yeah, what about you, buddy? What about you?
Yeah, there has been before, where there's been a really bad, morally questionable production on a film where we have given it a piece of shit. But I feel like that's because they sort of put the wrong people as the heroes. But I mean, still here, it is absolutely put out in the wrong time, wrong place, wrong time, as you said.
Hmm.
But obviously, it is portraying horrific events as horrific events. They're not, they're if anything, they're obviously setting this in the future, catastrophizing it,
Yes.
for
Yeah.
what could happen in a few years.
Hmm.
Uh, but they are portraying horrific events as horrific events. So it's not like they're, you know, it's not like they're sanitizing history. They're portraying something awful accurately. They
Yes,
are
yeah,
saying
that's true.
this is a terrible thing that is terrible.
That's
It's
true.
just that they absolutely should not have done a project about the coronavirus as it was happening, because so many people are dying, and then they're making, they're profiteering off this
Profiteering, yeah.
tragedy.
Hmm.
So if you remove that, admittedly horrific context from it and look at it as a film, because obviously films last forever, they're there for posterity. So if you think, what will someone, you know, 20 years down the line, watching this think as a relic of its time, as a sort of encapsulation of what this horrific time was.
Yeah,
It would be fascinating, I think.
I think so.
I
I
mean, it's
think so.
obviously, it's not necessarily a well-written film, but I think it's fascinating for future generations, even if it's about, the horrific potential, of this in a few years. Not that it isn't horrific now, but
Yes,
the
I know what you
worst
mean. I know what you mean.
possible outcome, really.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you think of it on that line of the fascination and the level of engagement that I think it creates, whilst I feel the romance is a bit weak and all the characters, don't get much development due to the runtime, I feel like it will be such a sort of time capsule moment,
I love what you said there.
that
Absolutely love
that
that.
will maybe, inform people in the future about this. I feel like I'm gonna begrudgingly give it a massive hit.
Yeah, no, I really love what you said there, Callum, to be honest with me. It sort of put my thoughts into words, to be honest. I think the time
Yeah,
capsuling analogy is great because it sort of, I don't know how to sort of convey my thoughts here. Kind of, in a weird way, it kind of reminds me of like a document, like a documentary of like a contemporary piece. It's sort of like you wouldn't make a 9/11 film like in 2001 or 2002. Do you know what I mean? It'll
yeah,
be too soon. I think here that the context definitely tarnishes it. But that being said, I think in 30 to 40 years time, I think this film may be applauded in the sense that
yeah,
it was a real bird's eye view. It was a real glimpse into the past of what it could have been like, or it could be like. It remains to be seen. Where it's early days yet, but
yeah,
hopefully it's nothing like the extent of this film. But even still, it still bears a close resemblance, doesn't it?
yeah. I haven't really heard anything about this film, positive or negative, and I think it is because it is such a sensitive topic to approach,
Yeah,
because you want to approach it with all the sensitivity of the
you do. Yeah, absolutely
all
do.
the people that have, unfortunately, been killed or hospitalized as a result, or affected by the death or hospitalization of victims of the virus. So you want to be sensitive to all of that, and this film isn't, because it is, again, making money off of the tragedy.
Hmm.
But you know like there is a fascination factor for the future, I think.
I think
uh
so. I absolutely agree. Yeah,
so
I think it. Yeah, it's one of
yeah,
those films, dude. Like it's so hard to review because, like, it sort of reminds me of recently the HBO. Well, I say recently, it was a couple of years ago. HBO did the Chernobyl TV show, and I think that's what this film is going to be like in the sense that that film, to be fair, to be fair with that TV show HBO, it waited decades to do something like that. Do you know what I
mm,
mean? So, and it was definitely a glimpse into the past from that perspective. Whereas here, I think because it did it immediately in the midst of a pandemic, it was definitely the wrong move there. But I think the consensus to that would be the same. It'll be viewed kind of similarly in its in its articulation of that time. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, because like all that this can really serve to do right now, like if you set the future aside, because I think in the future this will be of interest, but like right now, all that this can do is serve to make people sad and
Hmm.
think, oh my god, is this what the world is going to be like in a few years?
Yeah,
Like we've already lived through, such an awful time. Will this get worse?
yeah, I
I
know,
feel, I feel
I
like
know.
that's all that it can do right now. I feel like
Yeah,
in the future that there might be a place for it, but right now
yeah.
they should not have released
No,
this
they
film.
shouldn't. No, they shouldn't. It kind of reminds me, when you see these articles of politicians or like advisors saying yeah, well, we're going to be living with coronavirus forever. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't help. That sort of stuff doesn't
Yeah,
help for people. I really sympathize with people who of course have loved ones passed away and stuff, but it really reminds me of that kind of analogy. But that being said, I suppose in regards to spoilers for the film, there's I don't have a lot to say particularly. Do you
yeah.
have do you have a decent amount to say, dude?
Just a couple of things.
Go for it.
We've of course covered the context, so we'll be, you know all our thoughts on this, so we'll be setting that aside and talking about the narrative.
Yeah,
About I think we've covered quality so far. It's not the highest quality, but it was engaging and fascinating, but contextually should not have been released at this time.
absolutely,
But I
absolutely.
feel like just comments on the narrative I have, but not
Go for
really
it, bud. No, absolutely. Crack
criticisms or
on.
positives.
You crack
Uh,
on, bud.
the world is, of course, very sheltered. Only a few people, a handful, as they say, are immune to the virus.
Mhm.
So almost no one are on the streets. Nico still decides to cycle on the pavement like a knobhead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It kind of reminds
You
me,
know?
like in Grand Theft Auto, where like if you like stop for traffic lights in that game, do you know what I mean? It's kind
Yeah.
of that similar analogy. Yeah, it's
Because I
so
mean, it's
strange.
perfectly safe. It's perfectly safe to cycle on the pavement. If you ding your bell and you're wearing a helmet, and you're being considerate. But I feel like that's always a last resort for any sensible cyclist. If
Yeah,
this sort of car space is getting dicey, because
yeah.
cars do not like cyclists. Like been
Yeah, they
I've
don't.
I've had absolute abuse thrown at me as a cyclist. So I mean, sometimes you really need to escape. But I think provided you're considerate, like I would never have a problem with someone riding on the pavement behind me if they like ding their bell and I stepped aside. I've not a single problem with that. But I don't know, for some reason, people not wearing helmets really pisses me off, because I'm like,
Yeah,
well, you're
I know. Yeah.
disregarding my safety by cycling on the pavement and your own by not wearing a helmet.
Hmm.
Also, I don't like the idea of, if in the future I'm a driver and, a cyclist just, cycles in front of my car, essentially throwing themselves into the car.
Yeah,
But then, they die because they're not wearing a
yeah,
helmet, and it's, deemed legally my fault.
yeah. I
I
know.
feel like that's
It's
bullshit.
no, it is. That is, it's ridiculous as well. And I think, I think in terms of this film, one thing I was kind of curious about is that is KJ Appa's real hair. Do you reckon? Do you think they didn't want to put a helmet on him because it's it's a new hairstyle? Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It's a
I mean, he is dark haired, and then he dyes it ginger
ginger
for
for
Riverdale.
Archie
But
Andrews.
yeah, the length is surprising.
It is surprising, yeah. He rocks the beard as well. But no, I know what you mean. Wearing helmets is that issue is a nightmare. But yeah, the one thing about this film, it's really sad that the people who are immune, like part of me understands why people will be a little bit envious of the people who have immunity, because of course you'd want that. Do you know what I mean? Ideally, but
Mhm.
it kind of really saddens me. Like Nico just gets abuse from people who just what do they call them? Like immunity? Like what do they call? They have like a
Unis.
X-Men style like muties, like immunities here. So it's kind of a little bit upsetting as well. But like it's nothing he can do. It's just genetically, you know what I mean? It's not his choice.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you found the romance quite sweet.
Yeah,
It's
it
obviously
is.
underdeveloped because the
Oh, it is.
film's 84 minutes. Like that's almost unheard of for a
Yeah,
film.
it is. It
And
absolutely
to
is.
sort of carry a romantic plot, it is. I mean, it was a smart move to have it, established in the beginning, because then I feel the runtime didn't necessarily affect that terribly.
Hmm.
But I would have liked to see the story of them meeting play out instead of have it spoken through a door. And I feel with the kind of editing that's already present in this film, it wouldn't have felt out of place to just have a scene and then skip forward multiple years.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there were a lot of like jump cuts and like nonsensical things just like floating around
Yeah,
this entire
was.
film. So
There
I feel
was.
like no one would have been it would not have been out of character of the film for it to start with them meeting and then move into that, or even a flashback. I just feel like speaking it through a door was a bit of a letdown
Yeah,
for this.
I think maybe having a context for that relationship, have it start pre-pandemic would have been a good idea, because you kind of go in and the connection's not fully there for me, because I think that, that being said, the relationship's really sweet, but the connection, because they're just speaking through a door, like we don't know how long they've been together pre this, you know what I mean? So I don't know, but I think the ending of this film kind of presents it as they're going to live their life the way they want to live it. They're both immune. They can both be together. But it kind of really, it still saddens me. Like, the world is still in a deep shithole. It's up shit creek. Do you know what I mean? Like, especially with the romance between May and what's his name? It's not Michael, is it? What's his name?
Yeah,
Yeah, Michael. Like obviously we see that she's happy that like he's showing her the beautiful coastline with his drone, but like they can never really see each other still. Like that relationship is still just virtual. And
yeah,
maybe they're okay with that, but it's still really gutted. Like they're just left in that shithole in the city. Do you know what I mean? It's really sad.
yeah. I mean, there are. There's plenty of hope for the two beautiful leads of the film, but yeah, there
Yes,
isn't much hope
yes.
left for the rest of the world. do you think this film would have maybe been received more favorably if it ended with, a positive note for the entire world?
I don't. I think if maybe like conclude this film with like a vaccine or something like that, it kind of puts that expectation on people who watch this film to maybe think, no, it maybe it even could depress them more. I don't know, because then you
Yeah,
realize like, oh, we're stuck like this. They have a happy ending. We are still living this sad life. I don't know.
yeah.
It's a hard one to really judge, buddy. What do you reckon?
Well, we're currently, at the very start of 2021, and you know,
Yeah.
most of the horrific events that we have lived through happened in 2020. So even in that point, this film is only set 3 years after that. So
Yeah.
I feel like maybe a film where it was society building itself back up, and everyone readjusting to returning to normal life, that would have been a bit more well, that is objectively more positive, because in that fantasized idea of the future, everything has gone back to normal and people are adjusting to this new
Yes.
life.
Yeah.
The Good Doctor, a TV show, did something similar. The first two episodes of the latest season were set during the pandemic, but
Oh,
then
really?
the third episode, which was sort of prefaced by sort of a video by Freddie Highmore, the star of that show, he said, "This is our, you know, fantasized vision for our hopes for the future, and how things will return to normal." So I feel like a movie about that would have been much better received, but there doesn't seem to have been a movie like that so far. I feel like the two big COVID movies are Songbird and Locked Down, I think it's called,
What
which
was
is
Anne
the
Hathaway?
heist film.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, with Anne Hathaway and Chiwetel Ejiofor. So both of those are in the midst of the pandemic, and one is the future, the terrible future. So I feel like just a bit of a positive one. I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
stop profiteering off the pandemic, completely.
Yeah.
Ideally,
Yeah.
but
Mm.
if you're so desperate to do it, you know, add some positivity to the really shitty environment
Completely.
that's currently going on.
100%. And it's really ironic that we're doing this we're doing this video like over Zoom. Like
Yeah,
that's what the communication is in that movie, is what in this movie as well. So it's just it feels sort of surreal. Like that's such a cliche thing to say, I know, but I don't know. I think you're right, buddy. I think having a bit of a positive injection there might be a good thing. But
I think we both thought this review was going to be a quick 10 minutes, didn't we?
yeah, I know. But I've
Yeah,
enjoyed it because we've kind of got a lot of lot of the frustrations off our chest, I think, in the context of this film. So it's been, I think
yeah,
it's been a good discussion, as complementing the review of the narrative of the film. Like I think it was needed. So I
yeah.
don't have any more
Because I
points,
feel
buddy.
I
Actually,
feel like we are two people who sort of use films for escapism, and
yeah,
we,
yeah, absolutely.
you have more going on in your life currently, with work and education. So for me, sort of films are my only escape currently. The only time where
Yeah,
I'm not thinking about the other sucky things to do with life as it is, and it does just kind of suck, like when
it
you have
does.
sort of a kick in the teeth like this film, a fascinating thing, for the future, as I said. But as it is right now, the idea of that being what the world is in a couple of years and things not being, significantly better
Yeah.
is just, it's just a bit of a kick in the teeth.
It is. It really is. Callum, for sure. For sure. Man, I love what you said there, buddy. I think you've really smashed it. I don't have any more points. Man, do you have anything?
I just have a couple quick notes.
Yeah, go for it.
The sanitation agents seen throughout the film, members of the Department of Sanitation, are being incredibly respectful of Sarah's situation. Admittedly, they just sit there guarding the door for several hours during Nico's quest, while knowing there's an infected person inside.
Yeah,
Within,
they're very
uh, you know,
understanding.
pr- yeah, previously in the film, when we see Sarah's neighbor taken away, I would say it's like 3 minutes in and out. They make the
Oh
announcement that
yeah,
they're there, they kick her door in, they've got her out of
bam.
there, and
Bob's your
then
uncle.
and
Yeah.
then she gets the bang at the door, and then they're just like frequently you see
Yeah. No,
scenes of them
literally. Yeah, I
just
know.
milling about,
Yeah,
and
just milling
then
about. Yeah, it's so
he has
strange.
the entire time to motorbike around the city. He goes to one place, then he goes to another place, gets stabbed in that place, goes to another place, goes
Who
to
was
another
that guy
place.
that saved
Get
him? Was that just a random dude?
Yeah, he's never brought up again. I feel like there was probably like a whole like subplot with him that they
They
just
just
cut
cut it
out.
out. Yeah, that's so
Well,
weird.
because I mean, we have the subplot of the war veteran, and the singer, and their potential future romance. Currently it seems to be a friendship, a potential future romance, which seems 100% out of place. like 100%. You know, there
Yeah.
are there's certain advantages to having those characters, and they propel the plot. But they don't feel like characters. They feel like plot devices. And I feel like that sort of uh, I guess he's revolting against the corrupt government, but we see nothing from him before or after, and I feel like he seems like a more interesting character than a lot of the other ones presented in the film. I
He
feel like
does.
a
Yeah.
a political uprising subplot, it wouldn't have made the film better, but I mean, it would have padded the runtime at least, and I think
Yeah. I
made it
know.
appear as a feature film.
Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly.
but the character of Nico is of course immune, and that's sort of the beginning concept of the film. That he is living with his that he's living a life without his girlfriend, who he believes to not be immune. And I do not like whatsoever that they made Sarah immune, because I feel like it only serves to make the character seem more stupid that she didn't know. Because surely there's an immunity test. Because how would Nico know? How would any of the other
Otherwise,
characters
how do you
know?
get the
If
bands
there's
as well?
yeah, if there's so yeah, of course there has to be some sort of process to get the ban, to prove yourself, to prove that you're immune. And this isn't the kind of scenario where you would just assume otherwise. You wouldn't go, oh well, a handful of people are immune, so I'm probably not. Like
Yeah.
if the situation is this dire, you're getting that confirmed either way.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that, because it just made the character seem a bit stupid, and it also makes it seem more like it was a cosmic destiny that put her and Nico together.
Yeah. Yeah.
When there's only a handful of immune people. I know you like that.
I
With
do. I'm
your
a sucker
the,
for
the
that.
one
I absolutely
business
love
that
it.
in their mid 20s they must be together forever. But when there's a handful of people in the world, of course that's hyperbolic. But we see, in the city of Los Angeles, we meet 4 or 5 immune people, and we don't even know if they're telling the truth, because those bands are available on the black market.
Yeah.
So for 2 of those people in the city to be together, it was a bit of a stretch for me.
Fair enough, mate. I respect that, of course. I respect it. Um, any other remarks you want to bring up, bud?
One final one,
Go for it.
the film is, of course, deep down a romantic tale. Maybe have your first kiss anywhere else.
Yeah, yeah. I know. Literally, it's just the middle of a lot of government agents and stuff, isn't it? From the
Yeah,
Department of Sanitation. It's just
this is the first time you've touched. Fair enough. But
yeah.
you're not teenagers. Cool down the horniness for
Wait,
4 minutes.
just wait till you get home.
Go
It doesn't
go
seem that far
anywhere
away.
else.
Yeah,
Yeah,
literally. I
go
know.
anywhere else other
Yeah.
than surrounded by armed agents who are there to kill you.
Yeah, I know. Literally anywhere else. Anywhere else. I know KJ Appa is attractive, and there's a lot of shirtless. There's one too many KJ Appa shirtless scenes here, anyway. But yeah, like that being, just wait a minute. Just wait a couple minutes. Anyway. But yeah, I suppose if we're gonna rate it out of 10, just to wrap up today's video, what would you give it?
See, this is difficult, of course. Engagement. I think take enjoyment out of it, because I think the context is so horrible. But
Yeah.
engagement, I was fully engaged. I would say I watched with my eyes on the television 90% of this movie.
Mm.
So I suppose for how much it captivated me, I'm gonna have to give it a 9. Quality is obviously way below. It's an
Yeah.
84-minute film. You obviously can't get much much of anything of substance in there. You can't develop your characters fully, especially when there's a romance within the film.
Yeah.
There's going to be very little development there. As I said, most of the characters are just plot devices. So quality wise, not taking in context, not taking into involve the context, because I feel like that shouldn't affect the quality of the film that they've made it. It's just how they made it that's the
Yeah.
issue.
Mhm.
But out of 10 quality, like a 6. Like it does play like a mid-tier episode of sort of like an angsty TV show, as you
Yeah,
said.
it does, doesn't it? It absolutely does. I think the separation of engagement and quality is a really smart thing to do. So I'll definitely go with that. I think engagement, yeah, like an 8 or a 9 for sure. I think the pacing wise, it's fairly quick paced, and I suppose that's due to the short run time. But I think, yeah, quality wise, I think editing really misses the mark there. That being said,
Massively.
performances are fairly good. I'll probably give it a 6 for
Yeah.
quality, but yeah. This has been one of my favorite ones, actually, just because I think we've both got a lot of stuff off our chest here as well. It's been a really good
Yeah.
discussion. So hope you guys enjoyed this little mini review, and hope you guys are all safe and well. And trust me, if you're still watching this point and you're at home locked down, really just not loving life, like trust me, Calum and I are exactly the same. This is just
Yeah, I
our
mean,
output for positivity.
I haven't had to go through anything horrific, thankfully, and
Yeah.
touch wood that I don't. But I feel horrible for anyone that has
Oh, me
had
too.
a truly
Completely.
terrible experience. But
Completely.
I've been very lucky. So I
Me
can't
too.
complain at the moment.
Me
Because
too.
I feel like you shouldn't invalidate your experiences, of course, but like no one should. But for me, I do feel lucky because every time you open, they've invented a new term called doom scrolling, which is every time you open the news and you scroll down, just everything is horrific,
Yeah,
and that's really I feel like that is completely indicative of 2020.
for sure. For sure,
That is
man.
the best way to sum up 2020, and let's be honest, probably 2021. Like everything sucks.
Yeah, I know. It
But
does.
it does suck a lot harder for a lot more people
Oh, it
than
does.
for
It
me.
absolutely
So
does.
I've been lucky.
No, for sure. Me too. Me too. And we don't take that for granted at all. We're definitely aware of people have it a lot harder than we do. But if you're sitting at home and you're just not feeling great, Cal and I or know how that feels. So like hope you guys are all safe and well. Hope your family and friends are all safe and well as well, guys. And yeah, we really do appreciate that your support. So hope you guys are all well. Take care and see you later. Bye bye.
Bye.